Grand Rising, beautiful soul family. I'm Coach Susie, and welcome to the Beyond Abuse podcast, a show about the power and benefits of using self love and hope to overcome self doubt, depression, anxiety, and panic attacks resulting from the trauma and abuse of our past. I love sharing my story, but I love showcasing other badass men and women who learn to turn their pain into purpose, and they're using that gift to help other men and women transform their mindset from victim to victor. Today, I have the pleasure and honor of showcasing Dr. Patricia Suggs, international best-selling author, CEO of PKS Publishing, and founder of Patricia Suggs Coaching. She is known for her ability to teach women how to find their voice, step into leadership, and excel at conflict resolution. She loves working with professional women in the area of leadership, helping them to get over themselves and get promoted. She assists them with communication skills, gaining more self-confidence, and learning to deal with confrontation effectively and compassionately. In addition to coaching, she is accepting applications for her multi-author book, Invisible No More: From the Darkness of Discrimination to the Light of Success, Women Speak Out. Patricia, thank you so very much for joining me today. That is an amazing title of a book.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's great to be with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So tell us more about from the darkness of discrimination to the light of success. How did you come up with that, or did you experience discrimination?
Yeah, I did. Back in the mid 70s, I went to divinity school. Went to Duke Divinity School and became an ordained clergywoman in the Methodist denomination. And that was in the late 70s, and served my appointment. And at that time, not many women were in seminary. We had no female professors till my last year. And then we only had one. Now they've got a lot. And then when I went out into the churches in our particular conference, we're divided into conferences, I don't know if any congregation, may have been one or two maybe, that had a female. So it was all brand new. And most didn't want a female because they really weren't sure. That it went from we're not sure we really want one because we've never had one, plus those who still had that belief, well, women shouldn't be doing that anyway. And they would try to use the Bible to rationalize all of that stuff. Well, we could come back with other scriptures that overturned their beliefs, but it was hard.
Right.
And so there was going through the process, there was bias at every level. And being out in the church, there was discrimination. They weren't quite sure. For one, but the other was, they just weren't sure a woman could do ministry for whatever reason. And so, there were always little things. I remember the one that really got me was I became pregnant. My husband's a minister too. And so we got married and went to the mountains in North Carolina. And he had a few churches. I just had one at that time. And we got pregnant. We'd been married about 2 years. And so they had never, it wasn't in our book of order or discipline, anything about maternity leave, because there weren't women in ministry then. So they were not really wanting to give maternity leave. It's like, well, why should we we'll give you time off, but why should we pay?
Wow.
Oh golly, okay. And I had some women, there was one young woman said, well, I didn't get paid when I took time off, and she shouldn't either. And, just different things. So thankfully the majority of my congregation was very, very supportive, because I'd already been there. I was there 3 years total. We had him our third year. So I'd been there almost 2 years, and I'd gained a lot of support. And so many of them who weren't even on the board, they just came and sat around, making sure the board knew we support her. And they voted it through, which was, I was very grateful for that. So I got 6 weeks, and they paid for that. I had a wonderful, our supervisors are called district superintendents, and for districts, and the district I was in, we had a wonderful man, and he was saying, you ought to take 9 weeks because you'll be leaving at the end of this year anyway. Mm-hmm. But I opted to just do 6 because I didn't want them getting all fired up. I felt I did really well getting 6. But that was just one example. Little things like that. Then I went back and I served some more churches, but I also went back and got a PhD. And then I went into, as part of, under the umbrella of ministry, I went into a medical school, and I became an associate professor there and began developing programs and helping health providers, because my major was in gerontology. So I helped health providers understand what it means and what they need to know in order to serve older adults. Right. And back then, that was in the mid to late 80s. And that was just becoming a topic. I mean, now most statisticians, most people realize, and most businesses are realizing that old baby boomers are going to be the majority in the next few years. Right. And so they need to figure out how to work with us. And so then it's kind of new, but more and more people were in nursing homes. And so the nurses and the staff and all that didn't really know what to do. So in the medical center, there was discrimination too. I mean, I was a woman, and there weren't that many. There were female faculty, but it was still, all the higher ups were male. Wow. And also I had a PhD and not an MD. And if your PhD wasn't in like epidemiology or public health sciences, where you could get in thousands and millions of dollars in grants, then you were kind of put underneath. So there were just lots of those little things that you experience going through. And I was there 17 years, and so I did a lot. But I also realized I was missing the church, and went back in and served some smaller churches. And one of these little churches I served part-time while I was trying to start up my coaching. They were just very, biased against me, for one, even though this one church, they knew me because my husband served them years before, but they had really been struggling. And so I came out even after I left that they just didn't want a woman. That was one reason. And then I had much broader views as far as I thought the church should be open to everyone. It didn't matter who you were, what your orientation was, what color your skin, it didn't matter. You were welcome in the church. Well, we're in this little community where it was very white and very what they would call normal. They didn't have exposure to many people who were gay or transgender or any of that. So when they realized that that's what I was open to, then they were like, oh, and I got snubbed, and they quit coming. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on when things like that happen that people don't really understand. But I got through all of that, and I was successful in everything I did because I decided that I wasn't going to let that stop me. That I knew I could help people, and I knew I could do whatever I set my mind to, and I wasn't going to let some small-minded, views and all that get in my way. I did it anyway. So I did it, and it wasn't always easy. It was because it was hurtful. Yes. I'd come home and go, you won't believe what happened today. It was not what you really strive to be a part of, but I grew a lot from it. Yeah. And in working with, I got certified also in working in conflict situations, and that made all the difference. And that helped me also. But I think I came out of it wanting to work with women so that they don't go through the same thing. Or if they are, I can help guide them through it and teach them ways that they can get through and get to the other side and be successful.
Right. Yes.
So that's kind of in a nutshell what I did.
And I think that is so important because there are going to be instances where we experience discrimination, regardless of, whether we're a woman or our sexual orientation. And we have to know how to not only handle it, but handle it effectively and compassionately.
Right.
Because there is a
Right.
way for you to get your point across, get your views across without really, arguing with someone else. Where all of our views are valid.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you can do it. And that's what I learned. That was the main lesson I learned in the training, is that, and I began to practice it. And it takes practice when you're not used to it, because I hate conflict. I mean, everybody hates conflict. But it was not fun. But I learned the art of, and it is a skill where you learn how to disagree, like you said, have your viewpoint, but not put the other one on the defensive. And when you can do that, then it's like, oh, she's really listening to what I'm saying, but at the same time, I'm, standing up for what I believe in. And there's a way to do that without getting into once it hits the angry phase, you've lost anyway. I mean, there's no point in continuing the discussion. So, but all through that, I think, even at this stage in my life, which is, I'm much older than a lot of people, started their journey. But I realized that, I had going through a lot of, even in addition to the bias and discrimination, even though my parents were super supportive, there was a part of me that never, I don't know, I never felt quite good enough in my own head, if that makes sense. And I had self-doubt. And I would, I felt everything needed to be perfect, kind of the imposter syndrome that they talk about so much now. And I was perfect candidate, perfect because everything had to be perfect. I did learn to get through that too, but it still comes up.
Absolutely.
Every once in a while, I find myself, as when I'm starting something new or doing something different, it's like, the old tapes come back, and going, no, it's not going to work, or no, and where that comes from, I don't know. I think there's a part of me, you see, and you come through school and you're socialized through them, and and my parents were really open, but they were traditional, but they pushed me to go even further. So they were very, very supportive. But you go to school, and if you're not a cheerleader, or you're not this or that, I mean, it's little things that some people would say, well, that's nothing. Well, it is when you're a kid. It is something when you're a kid. And those kind of stick in your head. And it's hard, even as an adult, you don't know where it's coming from, but those feelings are still there. They're just about different things. So it's weird. I know some people go, yeah, but you didn't have it that bad. I go, no, I didn't. I didn't have it bad. I had a loving family. I did well in school, and that's where I excelled, was in school. And so that was my thing. And I knew I could do that. But some other things, I don't know where their little attitudes get in there, but I think it's just the way women in general are socialized anyway.
Absolutely.
We're supposed to hold back, not supposed to express ourselves. Men want to talk over us. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. And I'm seeing that we hold back, and I'm seeing it with professional women, even, and I've been reading articles lately that even the highest level female in the country, successful, have reached, almost, well, she's vice president, almost president, right? And other women in the military, other women in businesses, CEOs, they still have those struggles too. They just don't talk about them that much.
Right. Absolutely.
But those little voices will come back. Yeah.
And so how do you get over those little voices? What's your techniques?
For me, what works for me is remembering that that's it's just myth that I'm telling myself, that it's not true. And that I look back at what I have done and keep reminding myself, I was successful in areas that women just weren't that popular in. And I was able to, and I remember one woman, another ministerial colleague and I were talking, and she said, I think we felt we had to be, because we both were in ministry like we came into it over 40 years ago. And she said, we came into it when we felt we needed to be absolutely perfect and do it right in order to be a role model for the women coming after us. And I think that's partially true. That we felt, we were the forerunners, so we need to do this really well, right. and not make any mistakes. I think women coming out now, hopefully, I think there's still that attitude, but hopefully it's changing. But, I think everybody experiences those childhood things where we just don't feel quite right, or we're not, we hear things, or somebody has told us something that we don't even remember, but it's embedded in our psyches, and it affects how we react. Absolutely. But my main thing is I just do it anyway. I just force myself into the uncomfortable zone and do it anyway, because I don't want them to win. I don't want those feelings. Those feelings to win, or people who think I shouldn't or couldn't or can't do it. I don't want them to win.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's very important that you teach that too. Communication, and also how to communicate effectively and compassionately, because we can do that. People always judge women as being these emotional creatures, but we can learn how to, I don't want to say tame it, but express it in love, because that's who we are.
It is. It really is. And I think women do that much better than men. It's nothing against men. I got a wonderful husband, very nurturing, more nurturing than most of the men I had met when I was coming through school. But they don't understand what it's like. And I think women, some men, especially in corporate, and even in ministry, I think some just felt threatened that we were going to take their place. And that's not it's not the reason I entered. I entered ministry the same reason they did. I felt I was called to do that. So it's not a matter of one over the other. It's a matter of working together. And I think women are much better at team building and doing it, because that's what we grow up doing. We really do.
Yes. Oh, that is so beautiful. Yes. So that is so true, that a lot of men are intimidated or fear a woman because they feel like she's going to try to take, and it's like, no, I came here to collaborate. I came here to work with you. I didn't come here to take anything from you. I came to work for you.
Yeah. And it's, if they could just get over that feeling. And there's just this, and even women, some women that are in leadership positions, many times they fear and they become turf oriented, kind of turfish, if that's a word, because they're instead of encouraging, and this is only some small percentage, but still there are those out there that don't encourage other women as much because they're fearful. And so we've got to get over that to where we understand we're working together. And there are ways to overcome a lot of those imposter thoughts and syndrome thoughts and the lack of confidence. There's lots of ways we can do that. And I think by helping and guiding each other, we'll do much better.
Yeah. And I think that you're in a perfect position, because that's exactly what you're teaching, is that really how women can stand in their power without being that masculine energy, because you're powerful in your feminine energy. There's nothing wrong with your masculine energy, but how to have that power and to communicate effectively and to stand in that feminine power so that you're not intimidating.
Right, exactly. Because there are ways to be not forceful, but ways to really be strong, I think, in your integrity and in putting ideas across. You can do that in such a way, excuse me, that it's not authoritarian, it's not, but it's powerful. And I think women, if we could just understand that we do have power by being feminine, by being who we are, and not by trying, my dad it was interesting because he grew along with me. I remember when I was real young, he didn't think women should serve on church boards and that kind of thing. And then he was my biggest advocate for going into It was really funny, but he was one he just didn't take what he believed years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he constantly learned and constantly understood and constantly saw things. And he was at an orientation at Duke with he and my mom were, and it was just to introduce us. And we had driven there from Illinois to Durham, North Carolina, and he just said one thing after that, going to that event. He came to me later and he said, I just have one piece of advice I'm going to give you. And I said, what's that? And he said, whatever you do not try to be like the men. Be yourself. Bring what you can offer as a woman. He said, but you're going to try to imitate them, then what are you offering that's any different? And he said, women, you have a lot that's different and that you need to offer. And I thought, well, that was pretty insightful for my father. But I've never forgotten that. And that's what every once in a while I remember that. And that's what helps spur me on too. Just those kinds of statements, that kind of support, and other people too supporting us. It's amazing. If you will just put your mind to it and say, I'm going to do it anyway. I've overcome a lot of those self-doubts. Not that they don't come back, but
they still do.
Well,
right. They still do. I don't care how far you go in life, those doubts, those fears, they still continue to come. But the more that you grow, the more, like you said, you know how to tell them to be quiet. Be quiet.
I don't hear it right now. Just, leave me alone. I'm going for this. And so then, and they do. I had a coach one time tell a story, and she said, I used to envision. She still does. I think a little person, a mini me on my shoulder. She's dressed up like an executive. And she stands on my shoulder. And whenever I start to try something new, and she starts her little thing like, you can't, no, that's not going to work. She said, I've learned, used to, I would listen to that and back off. But now what I do is I just turn to my imaginary little person on my shoulder and just say, I hear what you're saying, but I don't need you right now. And then I flicker off my shoulder.
I like that.
And she said that. I do too. She said the act of flicking her off that propels me to action. So I love that example. That's one I'll never forget because it really is so visual.
Yes. I love how she respected her inner critic. She didn't down talk her inner critic. She didn't fuss at her inner critic. What did she say? I respect what you said. But I'm not going to listen to that right now. So I can't use that right now. So bye-bye.
Yeah, that's not going to help me today. So you're gone.
That is
I think, it works. It really works.
That's good. I like that. Yes, I'm going to start using that myself whenever my little inner critic comes, because we do, like you said, we all have the inner critic, who knows where they come from.
And they like being vocal.
They do.
They like being vocal.
Yes.
I read something you might be interested in too. It was fascinating to me. Talked about there are parts of the brain that are different in our brain that are different than in men's. And there's, I forget what they call it, but there's actually a part in the brain that kind of centers around negativity and judgment.
Wow.
And it's bigger in women than it is in men. Yeah. And so that's why we just, and we have to really work hard. Yeah. Guys don't tend to have that little voice like we do.
Wow.
It's much louder within women.
Yeah. And that would explain a lot too, as far as like women not supporting other women because of fears and thinking that, she's better than me or more talented than me. And it's like, no, use her as inspiration. That's my thing, is use her as inspiration. You don't have to try to compete with her. Yes. Yeah. There's no need to compete.
Men, it's so many CEOs, like the men, if they nurture a woman to come up and through the ranks, which some do, some are very good. It's great. But if there aren't women behind her, when she's gone, that goes back to the way it always was. Yeah. So it's her opportunity to begin nurturing other women and bringing them on too. Because if we don't help each other, it's not going to work.
Right.
We have to support each other.
Absolutely. And that's everybody. That's men, women, women.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't do it alone. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So tell us.
We need each other.
Tell us more about this book and how can people be a part of it, or is there a particular person that you're looking for? Tell us more about the book.
It's exciting for me because this book really did come out from the whole idea for the book and the title from the experiences that I've had. And I want more and more women to understand that what other women go through to achieve success. And so I want women who have experienced any type of bias or discrimination and are willing, to share their story and to say, this is who I am now, but this is what I had to go through. This is how I did it. And give other women hope that they can do that too. And that they have a lot within them that needs to come out. And if they have been discriminated against or biased for whatever reason, their story needs to be told so other women can hear it. And I think that's what encourages more and more women, I think, to come out and be open about that. I know it's a sensitive topic and a sensitive area, but it really is one that I think it needs to start. I want to see more and more women talking about the specifics. What did you go through? Just to say I went through bias, that's one thing, but what kind and what happened to you? Because it is hurtful. Every time you go through it, it hurts. But the stronger you get, you're able to rise above it. And then you're ready for the next one because it's going to happen. So you're ready for it again. But I want those stories to be told. And so I'm looking for women who are willing to, they're successful in whatever way they want to be. And it doesn't have to be a money amount. They're successful in their life. And they want to tell their story.
Awesome. Yeah. Is this your first project with your publishing company?
It's my second. Actually, it's my second book. But the first one was Aspire Women Finding Their Purpose. And that came out in April, and it was #1 on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Congratulations. Yes, that's awesome.
Thank you. So 20 beautiful women wrote their stories, and it finding their purpose, and it was great. It was a really wonderful experience.
That's amazing. So if they wanted to be a part of this multi-author book, how would they go about doing that?
Okay, they just need to email me, or if we're friends on I can become friends with them on Facebook and they can message me. But my email is pksuggs@gmail.com.
Okay, awesome.
And they can just email me, and we can schedule a talk, a chat, and they can hear more about it, and then we can go from there.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I leave all of that information in the description box for the podcast, and also the description box for the YouTube video. If anybody is interested in sharing their story of discrimination and how they overcame and, was able to find success and share that with other women, because we all do need that. Like you said, we need to see other women who have gone through the fire, so to speak, and come out successfully and now willing to talk about it. So in our last moments, do you have any last words of inspiration, encouragement, or words of wisdom that you would like to share for any woman who may be struggling with her own self-confidence or communication? Speak to that woman right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of gold inside each and every one of those women. That you have what it takes to be successful. You just need to believe it. And sometimes I know that we're told, well, you shouldn't do that, or no, you should stay at home, or no, you can't do anything. But that's all myth. It's all a lie. And we need to understand, and I would say to every woman out there, you've got what it takes. You can dream and you can do what you want to do. You just have to, first of all, believe in yourself and then go for it no matter what.
Yes. Oh, that was beautiful. That is so true. Patricia, I thank you so very much for joining me today, sharing your knowledge,
Oh, it's
sharing
great.
your wisdom. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so very much for joining me today.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate you. Have a great day, okay?
You too.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. You heard her, ladies and gentlemen. She said, you can do it, but you just got to believe in yourself. You know, dreams don't come true unless you believe that they can. Unless you believe that they can. So I'm going to leave all Patricia's information, all her contact information in the description box. Uh, if Patricia's story resonated with you, if you feel more drawn to Patricia as a coach, as someone you want to learn from, or if you feel like you want to be a part of that multi-author book, reach out to Patricia, okay? That's what I'm doing this for. I want to support and showcase more women. Men too. I'm all about collaboration and supporting each other because we can't do this by ourselves, okay? And when we support other people, that helps not only ourselves to move to elevate in our own lives, but it helps that person too. And that's what we're here for, you know? That's what we are here for. And no, you may not resonate with everybody, but find your people. Find your people because they're out there. And then just start serving. This is service for me, you know? This is what I view as service. So if you enjoyed the topic today, I invite you to subscribe to my monthly self-care newsletter where I provide tips, tools, and resources on, loving yourself deeper every day. Once you are subscribed, you will receive my free ebook, From Victim to Victor, How to Live an Empowered Life Beyond Abuse. The ebook was created to move you from victim to victor and help you live an empowered life beyond the abuse and depression of your past. It was created to push you and assist you with redirecting yourself toward a more peaceful, happier existence. Yes, 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 yes. When I tell you where I've come from, and to see myself here now is almost surreal. Like the emotions that I'm feeling about the things that are happening in my life, it's like, wow, I worked for this though. And you can too. It takes a lot of hard work, determination, and like Patricia said, belief in yourself and in your dreams. Because it's nobody else's job to believe in you but you. But you will, along your journey, find people who also believe in you and want to support you. And you're still going to have people that are not going to want to support you, right? Because they don't want to see you there. But nobody can stop what God has for you. Nobody. Okay? So always remember that. Or that higher power, whatever it is that you trust in. But you got to trust in something other than yourself. You got to believe in something higher than yourself. Yourself and something higher than yourself. So once you're subscribed to the newsletter, all subscribers receive 25% off the 5 poetry book bundle, 15% off all products, and free access to the private Facebook ebook mental health support community, From Victim to Victor, How to Live an Empowered Life Beyond Depression and Abuse. There's daily encouragement, weekly challenges, and weekly live Zoom meetings with Q&A every Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can subscribe to the newsletter today by visiting SusieSuttles.com or clicking on the link in the description box below. Special thank you and shout out of love to all of my YouTube subscribers, podcast subscribers, and podcast listener supporters. I thank you for your love, kindness, and generosity. It is greatly appreciated. Listen, when you make a monthly love offering in support of this podcast, it not only helps to sustain future episodes, it also assists the mission of A Mother's Touch, Inc., which is to provide co-parents and families with love, nurturing, guidance, and the resources they need to become a healthier, happier, more holistic version of themselves. We also assist men and women financially who are leaving domestic violence relationships and struggling financially. You know, I just really want to be who I needed when I was experiencing my, when I was struggling in every area of my life. Like, I want to provide the tips and tools and resources that I use to help other people through. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast on Anchor, Apple, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, or YouTube, thank you. Thank you for being here. I really and truly do appreciate all the new people that listen to my podcast, and the viewers on YouTube. You could have stumbled on anybody else's page, but here you are, and I thank you for that. And I invite you to listen to more episodes. And if you like what you're hearing, I invite you to subscribe to the podcast. And then if you're getting something out of it, if you're growing, become a listener supporter. All listener support is greatly appreciated and accepted. And again, it goes to assist a Mother's Touch Inc. So if you are someone you know is in need of financial assistance, please visit www.amotherstouchinc.org and fill out the form for financial assistance. You can also make a love offering donation there, or you can do that via Cash App, which is the $ a Mother's Touch Inc., or Venmo, which is the @ of Mother's Touch Inc. And Mothers is spelled with a Z. Well, that's all I got for y'all today. I love y'all, and I thank y'all for joining me. But before I let you go, I have to send a prayer of love out into the universe. So let's go ahead and do that. Dear universe, I love you. I thank you. Oh my goodness, you are awesome, amazing. You are everything to me. You are my world, my life, my song, my melody, my symphony. And I remain in awe of your love and your protection and your provision and the doors of opportunity that you continue to open. How could I not give that back? How could I not help others? Because that's always been the mission. That's always been my heart, is when I get there, I want to pull other people up with me. It ain't just about me. But you also got to work. It don't come for free. People just expect you to help them, and it's like, no, you got to put in your part too. That's how it is with the universe. You got to believe, but you got to do the work. You got to take action when the universe says so. No, nobody is here to just support you. You got to support yourself first, and then you will have people in your path that will help you to get further. But you got to start doing it yourself. And I'm thankful and grateful for all those who rejected me, for all those who didn't support me, because they taught me how to stand on my own 2 feet. And I'm grateful and thankful for that. Thankful and grateful to use this platform and assist other people. And thankful and grateful for everybody who stopped by and listened today. I ask that you would cover them with your love, with your light, and with healing energy, and know that they too can have their dreams, but it's going to take some work. It's going to take some determination. It's going to take some letting go. It's going to take some growing up spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, to be able to handle, to be able to effectively communicate and compassionately communicate with others. So, and that's why the storms and obstacles come, to build character within us. So thankful and grateful for that experience. Thankful and grateful for everybody who is here today listening. Thankful and grateful to serve in this capacity. Thankful and grateful to experience another day. And with that being said, let's rock this day out. Let's get her done. And so be it. And so it is. Amen and amen. I thank y'all for being here today. I want you to go out. Have an awesome, amazing, and beautiful day today. From my heart to yours, as always, namaste. If you experienced rejection, abandonment, trauma, or abuse as a child, you may find it difficult to create a healthy, happy, and holistic life. You are not alone. I am Coach Susie, and I am a survivor of addiction and narcissistic domestic violence abuse. I was raised by a mother who experienced narcissistic personality disorder, and I experienced every type of abuse. I was rejected, abandoned, and traumatized before the age of 10. As I grew older, I attracted these same type of relationships into my life because this was my life. It was all I knew, and it was what I was accustomed to until I introduced myself to something different. In 2015, I left a 20-year unhealthy and abusive relationship with a man who struggles with narcissistic personality disorder. And I began a journey into loving myself unconditionally. It took me 5 years to accomplish living a happy, healthy, and holistic life, and that was primarily due to the lack of financial and educational resources for people like me who were severely traumatized as children and grew up in impoverished neighborhoods. The Loving Yourself Unconditionally movement was created from the mind of a traumatized child who struggled for years with self-doubt and low self-esteem. But I learned to love herself unconditionally beyond past abuse and thrive successfully in life with PTSD, bipolar disorder, and ADHD. I struggled to love myself unconditionally due to the mental and emotional abuse I received as a child. The voices of doubt, fear, and not good enough would constantly haunt me until I began to change my mind. The Loving Yourself Unconditionally movement is a community of people who desire to learn practical and effective ways to love themselves unconditionally beyond abuse. The Loving Yourself Unconditionally movement is not about chasing perfection and trying to be perfect. It's about learning to love yourself unconditionally in every area of your life, no matter what that looks like. It's about becoming the healthiest, happiest, and truest version of yourself, no matter what that looks like. If you are ready to learn how to love yourself unconditionally beyond abuse, pre-register today at SusieSuttles.com. Everyone has something to teach us. My question to you is, are you ready to learn?